They say a musician leaves behind their songs. I wanted more. I was 30, a songwriter with calloused fingers, champagne in my veins, and a belief, no, a conviction, that my DNA deserved immortality. The world needed more of me. Perfect versions, dozens, hundreds. Hospitals limited donations, 10 maximum, but loopholes were everywhere. I found brokers, desperate clinics, underground networks, couples who'd pay for strong bloodlines. I sold vials from my apartment, hotel sinks, public bathrooms, each labeled by hand, premium donor. It thrilled me. Sometimes I'd mix my sperm with another man's, just to see whose DNA would win. I called it genetic roulette, natural selection, fast-forwarded. I made videos, always well lit, shirt unbuttoned, just enough to show off the tattoo on my collarbone. I'd say to the camera, "Your legacy is the only thing that lasts. My children will rise. My bloodline will build empires. My YouTube channel, Johnny, father of many." And soon, they came. At first, just a trickle, nervous young adults knocking on my inbox. DNA kits pointed them here. "I found you," one said. "You gave me life." Another sobbed. A girl said we shared the same laugh. I cried with her, felt godlike. But then the second wave arrived. They didn't smile, they stared, glassy-eyed, cold. One man brought a photograph. His child slumped in a wheelchair, with an exposed spinal column spiraling outside the skin like a grotesque tail. The boy's eyes were on either side of his head.
"This is your grandson,"
he whispered. A woman played a video, a creature writhing on the floor, limbs twitching in opposite directions, mouth in the center of her neck. It opened and said,
"Daddy?"
Then came Emma and Eli, a beautiful couple, pale, gaunt, hands clasped tight. They sat on my porch and said,
"We had 7.
I smiled, until they added,
"We're siblings."
My stomach dropped. They showed me photos of their children, bloated heads, hairless bodies. One fused to his twin at the abdomen. One had no eyes, just hollows that blinked.
"You've flooded the gene pool,"
Eli hissed.
"Your blood is in everyone." "We didn't know, no one knew."
I tried to laugh it off, said I didn't force anyone, that I was helping people, that I was building legacy. But they didn't leave, and they weren't alone. More came. They camped outside my apartment, left dead animals on my doorstep. One night, I found my own YouTube videos playing on every device in my home. Autoplay, my voice on loop. "You are your blood." Then I blacked out. I woke strapped to a cold metal slab in a room that smelled of piss, bleach, and rotting meat. Above me, lights buzzed and flickered like they were dying. Around me, figures, dozens. Some crawled, some walked with twisted joints. Others hovered in the corners, swaying like meat puppets on invisible strings. Their skin, blistered, translucent, veined in black and purple. Some had hair like mine, eyes like mine, but their faces, misshapen, asymmetrical, split. One girl had a jaw that opened vertically. Another had no lips, just exposed gums that bled as she smiled. And in front, the creature bearing both Emma and Eli's faces, but only one body. Clad in a surgical apron, its eyes had become sunken pits of sickly yellow.
"They're my brothers and sisters. They did not survive."
I screamed as they sliced open my skin without hesitation. The pain wasn't sharp. It was wet, like my body was splitting open like fruit.
"You gave us life. Now, we give it back."
They grafted a third eye into my forehead. They sewed an arm, small malformed into my chest. It twitched like it had its own heartbeat. They stitched something alive into my spine. I felt it wriggle. It laughed.
It's your grandson. He'll keep you company.
They didn't kill me. They kept me. In a concrete room lined with mirrored walls, I was strapped to a chair, wires embedded in my scalp. My old videos played constantly. Your children will find you. Your DNA is your kingdom. I watched them now, horrified, as the reflections stared back. Not just me, but versions of me. Glitched, mutated, arms twitching, face sagging. The third eye blinked out of sync. The parasite in my back pulsed like a second heart. Every day, a new one arrives. They kneel before me like I'm a god, but their prayers are curses. Their hymns are sobs. They cry from mouths that never should have existed. I don't sleep. I can't. Sometimes the arm on my chest strokes my face. Sometimes the third eye shows me visions of creatures howling in hospital cribs. They call me Origin. I call myself a mistake. The worst part? I still recognize myself in them. In their pain, in their fury, in the way they stare at me not like a father, but a failed blueprint. My voice once said, "Children are the mirror of their parents." Now I understand. Mirrors break, and when they shatter, the shards return. Not to reflect, but to cut.
I jolted awake from the nightmare, gasping, tears streaming down my face. I couldn't remember the last time I had a peaceful sleep. Since Peter, my only son, died in a freak accident on April Fool's Day, the nightmares had only worsened. Clutching his photo to my chest, I sobbed. Today marked 1 year since his passing. Was my dream a sign that he was still here, in some way? The sudden ring of my phone startled me. Annoyed, I picked it up, only to freeze at the voice on the other end.
Mom, I'm so cold. Someone took my body from the grave.
A chill ran down my spine. I hung up in terror, convincing myself it was a cruel April Fool's prank. But the dread in my chest wouldn't fade. After a long hesitation, I decided to go to the cemetery. The car stopped in front of the cold, desolate cemetery gate. I stepped out as the wind howled through the trees, creating an eerie sound. Walking past the rows of graves, my heart grew heavier with worry. When I reached Peter's grave, it was still intact. But right in front of the headstone lay a fresh bouquet of flowers, and scattered around were several photographs. I knelt down and picked one up. It was a picture of John's corpse, my ex-husband, along with photos of my family, Peter and John. A surge of anger rose within me. I clenched the photo tightly as old memories came flooding back. John was an abusive man. He had beaten me throughout our marriage. I took him to court for third-degree assault. I still remember the sight of him being escorted away by the police, wearing that dull grey prison uniform, his eyes burning with hatred as he glared at me. Silently, I suspected that John had been released from prison and was now seeking revenge. The phone rang again.
911 emergency services. What is your emergency?
I suspect my ex-husband, John Houston, has been released from prison and is trying to take revenge on me.
Has he directly threatened you?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen him.
Are you kidding us? Another stupid April Fool's prank?
No, I just have a bad feeling.
You can report it to your local police department for further investigation. Thank you.
I felt like screaming. Why wouldn't they believe me? Who would risk their own life just to pull a prank on April Fool's Day? Frustrated and helpless, I decided to search for John myself. I had a strong feeling he was nearby, but after searching every corner, I still couldn't find him. Just then, the phone rang once more. I answered, and this time John's voice came through, filled with seething hatred.
You killed our son, Lara. You let him die so you could live peacefully on your own.
No, I didn't. It was an accident. The images of that day flooded my mind. I was working at the car wash. Peter had been trapped in the back seat of the car. He had called me through the 911 emergency line, but I thought it was just an April Fool's prank and told the 911 operator not to take it seriously. By the time I returned to the car, I realized Peter hadn't been lying. But it was too late. Peter had stopped breathing, and in that moment, my heart died with him. I didn't do anything! A noise rang out behind me. I spun around. John was standing there, a smug smile on his lips, gripping a baseball bat tightly in his hands. John, please listen to me. But he didn't listen. He raised the bat high. Panic surged through me. I turned and ran as fast as I could, his footsteps pounding right behind me. I fumbled with my phone, dialing 911 with trembling fingers. I'm Lara. I'm at Green Hill Cemetery. There's a man trying to kill me. Before I could finish, a rough hand yanked the phone from my grasp. John let out a low, menacing chuckle.
Sorry about that. My wife's a little worked up. Just an April Fool's joke, you understand, right?
Wasting emergency resources for an April Fool's prank is a serious matter. Be careful with your words.
Of course, I understand completely.
My blood ran cold. John was really going to kill me. I turned to run, but before I could react, a sharp, searing pain exploded in my head. John's baseball bat had struck me hard. I collapsed to the ground, warm blood spilling out, staining the cold earth beneath me. Through the haze of pain, I barely registered the sensation of John dragging me away. I couldn't fight back. He shoved me into the back seat of the car and pushed the front seat forward. My body was trapped, just like how Peter had died. John, please, I'm begging you. It was just a terrible accident.
Save your breath. You can explain it to our son in hell.
Without another word, he walked away, ignoring my desperate pleas. I struggled, but the blood rushing to my head made me dizzy. My chest tightened. I could barely breathe. I opened my mouth, trying to scream for help, but I knew no one would come to a cemetery at this hour. The only sounds in the silence were my weak cries and the distant haunting caws of ravens. My vision blurred with blood and tears. The lack of oxygen made it impossible to focus. Everything around me faded into a hazy swirl. In that haze, I saw Peter. He stood outside the car window, his dark eyes staring at me, waiting for me to reach him. In that moment, all the pain disappeared. Peter, this time Mommy won't leave you alone. I'm coming.
I have always loved my job as a flight attendant. It was more than just a career. It was my dream. I remember watching Sully, the story of the miracle on the Hudson, and being mesmerized. I studied every detail, every decision Captain Sullenberger made. It inspired me, gave me confidence. Still, deep down, I prayed I'd never need to face such a situation. The morning started like any other. Flight 2216 from Bangkok to Muan was scheduled to depart under perfect weather conditions. I had my routine down. Bright smiles at boarding, assisting passengers with their luggage, and ensuring the emergency protocols were second nature to everyone on board. There was a cheerful buzz in the cabin. Among the passengers was Mr. Bay, celebrating his 80th birthday with his extended family, his wife, 2 daughters, and 5 grandchildren. His laughter echoed through the aisles. I smiled, warmed by the sight of their joy. I didn't know that in just an hour, that same joy would turn to heartbreak. The captain's voice came over the intercom.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be landing shortly in Muan. Please remain seated and ensure your seatbelts are securely fastened.
I did my usual walkthrough, checking seatbelts and trays. Then it happened. The plane jolted violently. I grabbed onto the nearest seat, my stomach dropping as if I were on a roller coaster. Gasps and screams erupted around me. The cabin lights flickered, and I heard the unmistakable sound of engines sputtering.
This is your captain speaking. We've encountered a bird strike, and one of our engines has been compromised. Please remain calm and follow the crew's instructions.
A bird strike? I thought of Sully. What did they do? Focus. Follow protocol. My training kicked in. Everyone, stay calm, I shouted. Keep your seatbelts fastened. Head down and brace. The turbulence grew worse. The cabin vibrated violently, as if the entire plane was being shaken by an unseen hand. At 9 a.m., the plane attempted a landing. The ground was so close I could see it through the windows. Hope surged in my chest, until the landing gear failed to deploy. We had to circle back. The captain had no choice but to pull up, keeping us airborne. The plane climbed shakily, groaning under the strain. Inside, chaos reigned. Oxygen masks dangled from the ceiling.
We're going to die!
I wanted to reassure them too, but what could I say? That we'd be okay? That we'd survive this? Even I didn't believe that anymore. Listen to me. We're not done yet. Trust the captain. Trust us. The words felt hollow, but I needed to believe them as much as they did. Children wailed. Mr. Bay held his family close, whispering reassurances I couldn't hear. Passengers began pulling out their phones, recording shaky goodbyes to their loved ones. Some prayed, while others wept quietly. Mr. Bay's granddaughter clutched her grandma's hand, her wide eyes staring at me as if I held all the answers. I knelt beside them, my voice trembling as I said, "You're very brave, sweetheart. Stay close to your family, okay?" Mr. Bay met my gaze and nodded. It wasn't much, but it was all I could offer.
Miss, please, can you take a photo of us? Just one last time.
I nodded, unable to say no. I made my way back to my seat, securing myself. I pulled out my own phone. For the first time, I hesitated. What do you say in your final message? I thought about my mother, her warm embrace and the way she'd always tell me, "You make me proud." And then there was the captain. He didn't have the chance to record his final words, so I decided to do it for him. At 9:07 a.m., the captain's voice came over the intercom again.
We've been cleared for an emergency landing from the opposite direction. Prepare for impact.
This was it. I stood at my post, securing the galley and fighting back tears. The passengers braced themselves. Smoke filled the cabin, and the air smelled of burning fuel. As the plane descended, every second felt like an eternity. The impact threw everyone forward. We hit the ground belly first, skidding violently. I gripped the jump seat, my heart pounding as the plane slowed. We were alive. Somehow, we were alive. I looked around the cabin. Passengers clung to each other, bruised and battered, but breathing. Mr. Bay's family embraced tightly, tears streaming down their faces. For the first time since the chaos began, I allowed myself to believe we'd made it.
The weight of the ring on my finger feels like a shackle. My wife, sweet and kind, sleeps soundly beside me, her breathing steady, unaware of the cold emptiness in my heart. I stare at the window, my mind consumed by the dreams of him, Nosferatu. His presence haunts me, lurking in the edges of my vision, whispering to me in my sleep. His elongated fingers trace my skin in the dark recesses of my mind, leaving trails of ice and fire. I wake up trembling, gasping, craving something nameless and forbidden. Then came the letter. Herr Nock, my employer, has ordered me to travel to Transylvania to finalize a sale with Count Orlok. The townspeople recoil at the mention of his name. Superstition grips them, their whispers filled with fear. Yet deep within, I feel something else. Anticipation. As if I am meant to go to him. The journey is long, and as I cross into his domain, the world itself seems to change. The Carpathians loom like jagged teeth, and the wind howls like a chorus of lamenting souls. When I arrive at the castle, its towering presence fills me with dread and longing. The carriage driver refuses to go further. I step alone into the shadows. He is waiting. Count Orlok, Nosferatu, is unlike anything I have ever seen. His gaunt frame, his hollow eyes, the way the candlelight barely clings to his form.
You have come,
he says, his voice dry as withered leaves. Dinner is served, though I barely touch it. My hands tremble. My skin prickles under his unblinking gaze. I am trying to keep up appearances, to act as though I am here only for business. Then, in a moment of clumsiness, my knife slips. A thin red line blossoms on my finger. Silence. Nosferatu moves with terrifying speed. His clawed hand clasps my wrist, lifting my bleeding finger to his lips. A shudder courses through me, not of fear, but of something deeper, something I dare not name. His tongue grazes my wound, and a dizzying euphoria crashes over me. The world distorts, the candlelight flickers, and my breath hitches. He looks at me with something unreadable, something ancient.
You are bound to me.
I don't resist. That night, he comes to me. The walls seem to pulse, the air thick with something unseen. He speaks of my pain, of the chains that bind me. He sees through the facade, through the forced smiles and silent suffering.
You have always belonged to the night.
He whispers, his lips grazing my chest. When his fangs pierce my skin, I do not scream. I wake in my chamber, my body feverish, my mind altered. The puncture wounds on my neck pulse with a dark hunger. I am no longer the man I was, but I must return. Back in Wisburg, I play the role of the dutiful husband. My wife watches me with quiet concern. She senses the shift in me. We argue. She pleads for me to hold her, to touch her the way a husband should. But I recoil. Every night I turn away from her, offering only silence in return. My hands are cold. My heart no longer beats the same. And at night, I hear his voice calling me, his shadow stretching long against my walls. Then, the plague comes. Death spreads through Wisburg like wildfire. The townsfolk whisper of a curse, of Nosferatu's wrath. They blame me. They claim I brought this darkness home. The sickness festers, leaving hollowed bodies and empty homes in its wake.
The vampire demands a sacrifice, a pure soul, untouched, to appease him.
They said to offer a virgin girl. A strange sensation rises within me, a mixture of discomfort and hope. I do not understand it, but it coils deep in my chest, tightening with every whispered word. The night of reckoning arrives. I stand before the window, shielding her from their condemning hands. Then, he comes. Nosferatu emerges from the shadows, towering, spectral. His eyes lock onto mine, unreadable, eternal. My wife clings to me, trembling, believing she is the one he wants. But he does not look at her. He looks at me. I stagger back, the realization slamming into my chest like ice. It was never her. It was always me. His clawed hand extends. An invitation. A promise.
Your passion is bound to me.
Terror and longing wage war within me. The life I knew, the mask I wore, the expectations that bound me, all of it unravels. I was never meant for this world. I was meant for him. And so, I step forward. Nosferatu's arms close around me, his embrace colder than death, and yet, I have never felt more alive. As dawn breaks over Wisberg, I vanish into the shadows, leaving behind only whispers of a love never meant to exist in the light.
My chest hurt, tight and suffocating like a boulder pressing down on me. I struggled to breathe, thrashed around and suddenly jolted awake.
Emily, don't be scared. I'm here. We're still alive.
I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. That's right, Jaden and I were visiting a village in the valley. On the way, a massive landslide happened, but luckily we had gotten off the bus before it hit.
Yeah, when Emily screamed that the bus was going to be caught in a landslide and started yelling to get off, I seriously thought she'd lost it. But right at that moment, I suddenly got a stomachache, so I had no choice but to get off with them. And you know what? Everything that happened after was exactly like in her dream. This is insane.
Blurry images flashed through my mind. I remembered telling Jaden about my dream, and we both decided to get off. So, the accident really did happen? I quickly grabbed my phone and checked the news. As expected, everything unfolded just like in my dream. The only difference was that Jaden, Lucas, and I had escaped the death trap. But since we survived the landslide, an eerie sense of unease clung to me, like cold, watchful eyes lurking in the shadows, like I was prey already, marked by a hunter. Once again, I woke up from a nightmare, my mind foggy. It's been almost a month since the accident, yet that nightmare keeps repeating every night.
Emily, you're awake? I asked Julia to make some salmon soup for you.
Since the accident, Jaden had always been by my side, taking care of me. As soon as I caught the fishy smell, my mind immediately connected it to the overwhelming stench of blood at the crash site. My stomach twisted, and I felt a wave of nausea. Seeing my reaction, Jaden quickly told the maid to take the soup away, then turned to me with concern.
Are you okay? Does your stomach hurt?
I don't know, but I have a bad feeling something has happened. Suddenly, my phone chimed. A message from a friend. He told me that Lucas was dead. Lucas was the only other survivor besides my husband and me. Could it be that death has started claiming its victims? Jaden, death is still watching us. He'll come and take us in the most painful way possible. Jaden tried to comfort me, but the unease inside me only grew stronger.
No one can escape my scythe.
The nightmares kept repeating, leaving me sleepless every night. My body was exhausted beyond limit.
Emily, come with me. I found a way to free you from these nightmares.
I had no idea what Jaden had planned, but I still followed him, an uneasy feeling growing inside me. Jaden led me to the basement, and the sight before me left me stunned. Julia, our housemaid, was lying unconscious, tied to a table. A sickening feeling crept into my gut. Jaden was about to do something insane. As if to confirm my fears, he suddenly placed a knife in my hand.
Emily, all we have to do is offer someone as a sacrifice to death. He will spare us and grant us the lifespan of the one we sacrifice.
Jaden, but that means we're murdering someone.
Don't be afraid, Emily. I've taken care of everything. Julia only has a brother with autism. He can't take care of himself. As long as we send him Julia's salary every month, no one will question her disappearance.
Jaden gripped my hand tightly and thrust the knife down. Hot blood splattered onto my face. I screamed in horror. I had become a murderer. I woke up in the middle of the night once again. Ever since we took Julia's life, I had been haunted by bloody visions of that horrifying night. Jaden, lying beside me, quickly woke up, his voice filled with concern. But I couldn't hear a thing. My ears were ringing. It seemed my body had reached its limit, worn down by guilt and endless sleepless nights. A sharp pain shot through my stomach. Jaden rushed me to the hospital in the middle of the night. We sped down the empty road when suddenly, the path ahead was blocked. It looked like the road was under maintenance. A deep sense of unease gripped my heart. I told Jaden to slow down and find another route.
Don't worry, I'll find another way.
But something felt wrong. Jaden tried to hit the brakes, but they weren't working. His frantic stomps did nothing. Right before my eyes, the brake pedal snapped off. Horrified, I looked ahead. The construction site was getting closer, but the car wasn't slowing down. We were about to crash into the workers. My heart stopped. I heard the tires screeching against the pavement, the car jerking violently as Jaden swerved. A deafening crash. The car finally came to a stop, but not before slamming into a construction truck. Giant steel rods tore through the cabin, impaling Jaden. Jaden! Jaden! Wake up! Someone help my husband! Jaden! I screamed desperately for help, but as my vision blurred and consciousness slipped away, only one thought echoed in my mind. Death would never let us go. When I woke up again, I was in a hospital bed. I screamed for my husband, but all I got in return was the doctor's cold, unwavering voice.
Ms. Emily, I'm sorry to inform you. Your husband didn't make it, but please, try to stay calm and take care of yourself, because you're not alone anymore.
I froze, my hands trembling as they moved to my stomach. Doctor, are you saying I'm pregnant?
Yes, you're 8 weeks along, but your body is severely weakened. The baby is fragile, and today, there have already been signs of a possible miscarriage. You need to rest.
My mind spiraled in confusion when suddenly, a cold light flashed across my face, sending a chill through my entire body. A male nurse barged into the room, gripping a razor-sharp knife.
Die, you monster!
Instinct kicked in. I threw a pillow at the crazed man, trying to defend myself. Who are you? I don't know you. Please calm down. You must have the wrong person.
Wrong person? You and your husband murdered Julia!
His words sent terror through my veins. Julia's death had been discovered. How did her brother find me? My head spun as a sharp pain ripped through my stomach. Hospital security rushed in, easily restraining the imposter, but even as they dragged him away, he didn't flinch. No fear, no pain, only curses spilling from his lips. The agony in my stomach grew unbearable. Blood poured from me. No, I can't lose Jaden's only child. Doctor, please, save my baby, I can't lose it. Darkness crept over me. With the last bit of strength I had, I prayed to death, take me instead. Just let my baby live.
I was Corporal Thomas Baker. I served in the Army. Every morning we collected the dead. Every night the sky exploded with gunfire. Screams tore through the dark. There was no peace, no rest, not even in sleep. And yet, in the middle of all that death, the only thing that brought me comfort was our meals. While the other units gnawed on cold beans and tough jerky, we sat down to steaming stew so fragrant it felt like a gift from the gods. The man behind it all was Sam Gray. We called him Uncle Sam. He was technically the cook, but to us he was more than that. He was a savior. No matter how bad the war got, Uncle Sam made sure we never went hungry. But then, things started to feel wrong. It was just another ordinary day on the front lines. By dinner, we were still laughing and cracking jokes like always. But unlike usual, the stew that night was incredible. Rich, flavorful, and so tender it melted the moment it touched the tongue. A few minutes later, things slowly began to change. One by one, people clutched their stomachs, dizzy and nauseous. At first, I thought it was nothing more than a stomach bug. But then it hit me too. Just as I was chewing a piece of meat, my throat tightened. I gagged, unable to breathe. I coughed hard, over and over, until something dropped into my hand. It was a fingernail. It looked human. I stared down at the meat left on my plate. Something felt wrong. The texture looked off. The color was too dark. I tried to reassure myself. Maybe it was just low-quality pork or a tough cut of old beef. But that fingernail, I couldn't make sense of it. I went to Uncle Sam and asked him what kind of meat we were really eating. He gave me the same warm smile he always did.
Don't worry, son. It's fresh meat.
But when I asked if I could see the kitchen, that smile vanished.
That area is off limits. Orders from above, Thomas.
There was something off about the way Uncle Sam responded. It felt like he was trying to cover something up. I couldn't just leave it alone. I had to find out the truth. Dawn had just broken. While the entire camp was still asleep, I quietly followed Uncle Sam. He walked with a light step, whistling softly, a basket swinging from his hand like he was just heading to the market to choose the best cut of meat. Maybe I should have turned back. I should have stayed out of it. But something in me said I couldn't stop now. Uncle Sam made his way to a locked shed behind the mess hall. I crept along the side and found a crack in the wooden wall. I leaned in and looked through, and what I saw was hell. There were bodies stacked high like slabs of meat in a slaughterhouse, bloodied and tangled together, still dressed in enemy uniforms. The stench hit me like a wave, thick, foul, rotting. Was this really the same smell I had once craved at dinner? Uncle Sam stepped up to one of the corpses, calm and unbothered. He pressed his fingers into the thigh like he was testing a cut of steak. Then he pulled out a knife, sliced a thick piece from the leg, and dropped it into the basket. All the while, he kept whistling like nothing was wrong. Another man entered.
Is this batch good, sir?
Fresh like this. It'd be a shame to waste it.
I stumbled backward, hands trembling from the horror I had just witnessed. I threw up behind the shed, and then everything went dark. I woke up tied to a chair, thick ropes dug into my wrists. In front of me was a metal table lined with plates of steaming meat. Uncle Sam stood nearby, wiping a carving knife, smiling like we were about to sit down for a warm family dinner.
You're awake, Thomas. Good.
You made us eat human flesh. You turned us into monsters.
Just the bodies of the enemy. You think the vultures would have let them rest in peace. So why should we waste them? People need food to survive.
I couldn't believe what I'd heard. My throat tightened with nausea, but somehow I felt a gnawing hunger rising inside me. Uncle Sam picked up a slice of freshly roasted meat.
You're special, Thomas. Others get sick. But you're adapting.
I shook my head. No, I'm not like you. But when he held the meat to my lips, I ate it. My stomach twisted violently. My muscles jerked like something was crawling beneath my flesh. Veins bulged across my arms, twitching like they were trying to escape. But then, it stopped. My body settled.
See? You're evolving. You are the future.
I had become Uncle Sam's experiment. He said the meat crisis would be a thing of the past, that everything would be taken care of. I told myself I hated him. But hunger erased everything. And God, I needed that taste like I was losing my mind.
I was halfway through my shift, wiping down glasses behind the bar, when she walked in, wrapped in a fur coat that probably cost more than a month of my rent. She ordered a gin and tonic, but barely touched it. Her name, I'd later learn, was Cecilia, an elegant woman with silver-streaked hair and a voice that poured like velvet across the counter. Instead, she watched me with a smile that felt oddly maternal, but somehow predatory. We spoke, casual at first, where I was from, what I did, whether I ever thought about doing something more comfortable. I laughed nervously, brushing it off as flirtation. But then she leaned in, her perfume a strange mix of lavender and something musky.
Leon, sweetheart, why waste your nights scrubbing counters and chasing tips? You deserve softness, a warm home, freshly prepared meals, clothes that fit you like they were made just for you. All I ask in return is that you stay with me.
I should have questioned it more, but I was broke, tired, lonely. And when you've had enough nights wondering if your stomach will stop growling long enough to fall asleep, even the strangest offers start to sound reasonable. So I said yes, and when I did, Cecilia's smile deepened. Slow, knowing, almost tender.
Wonderful. Then it's settled. From this moment on, you belong to me.
The mansion felt like a palace carved out of the forest. Vast, opulent, and silent as stone. Everything was impossibly beautiful. Marble floors that glowed under your feet, chandeliers that hung like frozen rain, and hallways that seemed to stretch farther the longer you walked them. Every morning I'd wake to the scent of warm food, neatly laid out by a soft-spoken maid who moved like a shadow. I never had to lift a finger. All I had to do was eat, sleep, stay healthy, and stay handsome. Cecilia told me I was perfect just as I am, so I did as I was told. And for a while I believed I was living in a dream, but dreams rot eventually. At first it was just whispers, low moans echoing from beneath the floorboards. Then came the bruises, pale blotches appearing without reason, my skin thinning like old parchment. My hair fell in clumps onto the tiled floor. I started feeling dizzy after every meal. When I voiced my concerns, Cecilia only smiled, stroked my cheek, and whispered,
Your body is simply adjusting, dear. It's cleansing itself. Soon, you'll feel renewed.
I didn't feel cleansed. I felt emptied, as if something inside me was slowly being drawn out, patient and deliberate, one quiet drop at a time. And then I did the one thing I shouldn't have. I waited until the house was silent, every light out, every footstep gone. Then I slipped into Cecilia's study, heart pounding like it already knew. The room smelled of cedar and old paper. Between thick volumes of medical texts and weathered novels, I found it. A red leather folder. Inside were records, names, faces, each one a young man who had once lived here. Everything was catalogued with cold precision. Height, weight, blood type, photos from before and after. Then I saw my own file. Leon, symmetrical build, ideal bone structure, strong immunity, highly suitable as main course. My breath hitched, and without warning, footsteps echoed down the hallway. I slipped inside the cabinet and held my breath, just as the door creaked open. Through a narrow slit, I saw Cecilia enter with two other women, both too youthful for the age their eyes betrayed. One of them pressed her hand against the bookshelf, and with a soft click, a hidden door swung open, revealing a narrow stairwell. Without a word, they disappeared into the dark below. I crept forward, peered down, and saw a room the mansion was never meant to reveal. Steel walls, stretchers, IV bags heavy with thick crimson fluid, and bodies, some still, some bound, eyes open but hauntingly hollow. A chill locked my limbs. I turned to run, but the guards were already behind me. Something slammed into my skull. Darkness swallowed everything. When I came to, I found myself lying on a soft bed dressed in a black suit I didn't recognize. Cecilia stood waiting, her smile soft as silk and twice as sharp. The guards flanked her like shadows.
You're not leaving, Leon. Not when you're so close to fulfilling your purpose.
With a nod, she sent the guards forward.
Tonight, you'll join us for something very special. Let's make sure you look your best.
The ballroom was lit like a cathedral, grand and grotesque. Cecilia stood there, surrounded by her guests, all dressed in extravagant gowns, all blindfolded. Their faces were made up like dolls, cheeks painted too red, lips too wide. Each held something in her hand: knives, forks, riding crops, belts.
Drink.
Cecilia said nothing as she poured a thick purple liquid into a glass and pressed it to my lips, forcing it down my throat. It burned going in, and my vision began to swim. Then she shoved me forward into the center of the hall.
Let the banquet begin,
she declared, tying on her own blindfold. They descended. It wasn't a meal. It was a massacre. Blind, laughing, shrieking. They stumbled toward me, arms outstretched, swinging their weapons. One grazed my arm with a blade, sharp enough to slice skin, not deep enough to kill. The scent of blood filled the air. I screamed. That was all it took. The sound triggered them like a dinner bell. They lunged, giggling, clawing, tripping over each other as they chased the source of the noise. One caught me by the hair, another whipped a belt across my back. Pain exploded in my skull. I stumbled, fell, tried to crawl. Hands dragged me backward, nails dug into my flesh, teeth grazed my shoulder like kisses from the damned. I was the centerpiece, the perfect prey on a banquet stage made of gold and rot. And their laughter, it never stopped. Not when the lights dimmed. Not when the blood soaked through my suit. Not when the last piece of me was served. Maybe trust was never meant to be given so freely. I should have known better than to believe in honeyed words.
Once upon a time, they called the younger stepsister a goblin, until the day she began chiseling herself into a princess. I used to think that love could forgive anything, even a face like mine. People called me names when I was little. Goblin girl, plump elf, crooked nose freak. I got used to it. I buried myself in books and wrote poems under the sheets at night, stringing together words about a prince I'd never meet. But then he came along, Prince Han. He wrote verses more beautiful than I ever could. I clipped his poems from the Castle Gazette and hid them in a box beneath my bed. I told myself, if someone like him could write like that, then maybe he could also see beyond the surface of things. That hope kept me warm. After my mother passed away, I stayed behind in the manor, living with my stepsister Cinderella. Cinderella was born lovely. Thin lips, pale skin, the kind of effortless beauty that earned glances from strangers before she even spoke. She was kind to me, in the way one is kind to a younger sister. But kindness isn't the same as understanding. When people looked at the two of us, they assumed who was chosen and who was forgotten. Then came the day in the woods. I had only wandered beneath the trees, hoping the quiet might soothe me, when distant laughter broke through the stillness. It was Prince Han and his hunting party, all dressed in silks and boasting about their exploits. One of them asked what kind of girl Han liked, and he didn't even pause.
Sharp angles, wide eyes, lashes like fans, a high nose, porcelain skin, a tiny waist, and a fragile frame. That was the kind of beauty I wanted. And in the end, I was the one who set the standard for this entire kingdom.
Then they laughed, the kind of laughter that feels like teeth. He turned suddenly, his gaze landing on the trees where I crouched behind a trunk. His smile didn't falter.
And of course, only beautiful girls need apply. The ugly ones shouldn't even bother.
They roared again, louder this time, like hunters circling something they never meant to show mercy to. I didn't cry. I went home. That night, I stood in front of the mirror and made a promise. If beauty was the only language the prince understood, then I would learn it. I would speak it fluently. And so I began. Every morning, I pulled my corset so tight that it left raw lines across my belly. I fainted twice before noon during that first week. Then I visited the cosmetic apothecaries in the capital, trading family jewels for syringes, scalpels, and sterile hooks. They molded my face like clay, slicing, stitching, stretching. My nose was clamped in a metal brace until it bled. My lashes were sewn into place with threads so thin it shimmered in candlelight. My jaw was shaved to look sharper. Though the pain was unbearable, I clenched my teeth and endured it, whispering to myself that it would all pass, so long as it made me beautiful. I didn't stop eating. I couldn't. But I found another way. There's a trick with tapeworms, you see. You swallow the eggs and they eat for you. Your stomach shrinks and you still feel full. I told myself it was clever. Cinderella saw what I was doing. She begged me to stop, held my wrists as I trembled with pain after a facial nerve spasm.
You don't need to do this.
You were born beautiful. You'll never understand what it means to be told, every day, that you are less than human because of your face. She didn't reply. She just stood there, guilt pressing against her silence. The royal ball arrived. I walked in with a waist as slim as my breath, lips painted in a trembling curve. For once, people stared, no longer with pity or revulsion, but with admiration. Han looked at me and smiled. He asked me to dance. I floated toward the floor on fragile heels, my heart light, as if I were stepping into a dream finally made real. But then she arrived, Cinderella. Her dress shimmered like mist, her presence swallowing every eye in the room. Han turned and I watched his gaze drift, then fix, then hunger. He dropped my hand as if I were never there. He asked her to dance. I stood at the edge, shivering beneath my borrowed beauty, and felt something cave inside me. I fled before the first chord of the waltz. Cinderella chased me home. In her rush, she lost a shoe on the palace steps. Glass, delicate, absurd. Han picked it up, his eyes gleaming with the thrill of a hunter who had just caught the scent of something rare. When Cinderella returned, we argued. Why did you come to the ball dressed like that? Did you want the prince to notice you that badly? You were born beautiful. Why did you have to compete with me too?
I only came to find you.
But I didn't believe her. Not then. Then the door suddenly burst open. Han stood at the threshold, the glass slipper gleaming in his hand.
Whoever fits this will be my bride.
Something in me snapped. I smiled, cold and sharp, and shoved my foot into the glass slipper, but it was far too small. I picked up a carving knife and walked to the front hall. Han didn't flinch. He watched, intrigued as I raised the knife and hacked off my biggest toe. Blood painted the floor like a carpet. I shoved my foot into the shoe. It fit. See? I'm perfect now.
Only 4 toes? Disgusting.
He pushed me away. My chest tightened, and suddenly, all the pain I had endured felt meaningless. Was it all truly for someone like the prince? The tears streamed down my face, unstoppable. Cinderella had picked up the other shoe and slammed it into Han's head. He collapsed. We tied him to a chair in the basement, his mouth gagged, eyes wide with disbelief. He looked at us like we were the monsters.
No more suffering in silence. He'll understand what he made us become.
We began. We used the same tools they'd used on us. Surgical thread, nose clamps, heated bone presses. I kept the iron rod steady as Cinderella quietly sewed his eyelids wider, murmuring poems that sounded all too familiar, perhaps even mine. With each pulled thread, each careful slice along his skin, I saw the echoes of a pain I had once survived. He wept through it all. By the time we were done, his face was grotesque, exaggerated, hollow, warped by the very standards he once worshipped. We didn't stay. We packed the jewelry, wrapped our wounds, and left the kingdom behind. Somewhere far, I hoped, there might be a place where beauty wasn't currency, where people like me didn't have to carve themselves into someone else's fantasy. Cinderella held my hand as we walked, and for the first time, I believed her when she said I was beautiful. Perhaps there was never any true standard of beauty at all. I didn't need to please the prince or anyone else. I only needed to be myself.